guys, welcome to another layout. This one came together actually quite quickly and I was really happy with it. I wanted to use, so what I wanted to do with this one, keeping with the September theme that I've got going on, keeping it simple in September, I wanted to show you how you can use a themed product in a slightly different way. So this particular paper pad is from KAISERCRAFT. It's 6.5 by 6.5 and it's called Emerald Eve Papers. It is a Christmas paper pad is what it is. All of the ephemera bits that are in the back, the pop outs, they are all Christmas orientated. Now, I did manage to find a couple of sheets in the pack and they didn't have jingle bells or anything like that on it. So I figured, you know what? I reckon if I did this, so you can see that gold piece, it's Christmas. It's all screaming Christmas. But there was a few dark pieces that when I cut them down, you don't really think Christmas, like you're not thinking rich Christmas stuff. You are possibly thinking winter though, and I did have these photos of Gizmo and he was all curled up on the couch and he was freezing this particular day. He was absolutely frozen and he burrowed himself into the blanket. We always have blankets on the lounge. It's usually the kids and the kids leave their blankets there. We don't have a lot of cold weather in Queensland, so to be completely honest with you, my kids don't even own slippers. Like, that's how little we have cold weather up here. Now, other parts of other states get very, very cold and most certainly need slippers. We do not in our place. Now, something that I do for our kids every year is I buy them a fresh new blanket, and it's a smaller blanket than you would normally put on your, it's kind of it's a little bit bigger than a throw blanket, and it's thick enough that if they want to just sloth on the couch and it's a cool day, they can use that blanket either morning, noon, night, whenever, and it keeps them warm but not too warm, if that makes sense. Like it's just enough that we don't use heating in our home. We do have reverse cycle air conditioning, but we don't feel that we need it. And this is just another way of teaching the kids that, you know, there's ways to get around things in life and you don't necessarily have to go out and buy slippers every year and big thick jumpers and dressing gowns and all that sort of stuff, which my kids have always run hot though. I know that sounds stupid, but my kids have always been warmer rather than cooler. So as I'm waffling about this, the point that I'm trying to make is obviously one of my kids had left their blanket on the lounge. It would have been Jennifer, I can guarantee you. And she's the one that does it every time. Now, what I decided to do was I was going to bring these nice rich they're not really cardstock, papers. I'll call them papers because it's not really cardstock, it's really thin. And I wanted to use them in such a way that I wasn't just doing a 6x6 sort of block design, because there's so many different ways you can put pattern papers onto a page. Now, this particular one, what I decided to do was get these really deep, rich papers, and I cut them down to 5 centimeters wide, and then I varied the length that I cut them, and it helped me form a kind of a brick design, going sort of starting at the outside, working my way in. So it's super simple. I did ink the edges of all the pieces, and I used Distress Oxide ink. I used ground espresso. That's my go-to dark brown, that it's not black, but it's really, really deep, dark, moody brown. I love that color. And for me, I was like, I'm not huge on measuring. I do it because I have to. I don't do it because I enjoy it. It's one of those things. And you can see here where I was leaving the tiniest thin white border, and I do come in with ink later on and ink around the edge of that, so you kind of end up with an extra, that white piece is a little bit extra, and it's a good border. Now, why am I waffling so much? I've had a crazy busy morning. While I'm just putting these blocks down, I'm just going to let you know. So I had a crazy morning. I've been planning for Friday's live, so I will let you know tomorrow. This video goes up on Thursday, so tomorrow, Friday morning, Friday the 15th, Australian Eastern Standard Time at 10:30 a.m. I will be going live. That way, I'm trying to vary the times and days that I go live. That way, it sort of gives everybody the opportunity to hopefully tune in. I know last time I did a 2 p.m. start, and a lot of my friends overseas, US, Canada, they were sort of at the end of their day, so it was getting a bit much for them to stick around. So I figured, you know what, I'll pull it forward a bit. And this particular Friday, I've managed to not have anything to do in the morning because I'm doing it Thursday with my father-in-law. So I thought we would jump in and do a live and do a couple of pages, and I figured I would put it out there. I'm going to put it up on the Facebook wall. If you've got any ideas of things you would like to see, I am more than happy to do layouts. Of course, obviously, that's what I'm going to be doing, is a couple of layouts. Now, I will scrap for a decent length of time. So if you can't get there at 10:30 a.m., just check in later, because I usually scrap for about 3+ hours when I go live. That I'm not expecting people to stick around for 3 hours. If they do, bonus, but if they don't, they can maybe just pop in, say hi, have a quick look, maybe come back and watch it later on when they're scrapbooking or something like that. That way, I think I'm sort of accommodating the most amount of my followers, my subscribers. And yeah, so I will be going live on YouTube at 10:30 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Friday the 15th of September. Okay, now I am just about finished. I love doing this sort of thing because other than measuring the width of your strips, you don't really need to measure much. Now, you can see that I have put a little bit of ink on that white background. The reason I did that is because it doesn't matter how well I think I've lined things up, there will always be a little tiny gap, and that's totally fine. But this particular layout, I wanted all of those white nuancy bits that are just going to jump in there and annoy me. That's not the right word, but that's okay. Those little bits are going to bother me, so I'm going in with my mini blending brush to start with before I even put anything down. That way I know I've covered up that white bit. Now, this is where I am just adding in my last little piece, and then I move on to the next bit. Now, what else was I going to say to you guys? There was something else I was going to tell you. Okay, I'm going to do my shameless plug while I try and remember what I was going to tell you. I'll do my shameless plug. If you guys are watching my video and you have not subscribed to my channel, subscribing is free. So I know that I have a lot of people that are they watch my videos when they pop up. They don't necessarily subscribe to the channel or anything like that. Subscribing to the channel helps the channel show the algorithm where to push my videos out to. It doesn't promote my video. Like, I need to explain that it doesn't promote my videos. It just means if someone types in scrapbooking, it's going to put my videos on their radar so that, you know, other people can see what I do. I don't scrap necessarily the same as everybody else. So it does help if people have subscribed. Equally so, if you have subscribed, if you hit that like button, it's free. If you hit the like button, it helps my channel out as well. Not to mention, and this bit, it helps my channel out, but I actually prefer, I really like the comments. It can be super simple, just a hi or great or beautiful or this one's not really me, or oh, I think you went too far. Any of that sort of stuff. I love hearing from people that watch my videos because it gives me more of a direction when it comes to what I might do in the future. So now I'm going to draw your attention to what I'm doing because this was something I've never done this before, and I did it on this one and I really liked it. So in the back of this paper pad, you can see there's some punch outs, right? Now the one that I popped out is the wood one, but it wasn't quite it. The wood was going vertical instead of horizontal, the grain of the wood. So I had a piece left over from the pieces that I was cutting, so I just traced it, and that way I've got my wood going horizontally, so it's sort of matte. It just, I don't know why, but it looked funny being vertical. So I traced around it and I put that down. Now I've gone around the edges with it, and this is where I was a little bit, now what do I do? These pieces that I'm putting on here, they're longer than my photos, but I don't trim them down because I thought, you know what? I wonder if I could use, and I just had a little bit of a play with the bits that I cut off, and you know what? I think it looks really cool. It's something different. It's using your scraps, but see how it creates a more like a bracket around my photos, and I really liked that. So if you've got punch outs like this, and maybe they're not in the colors that you like, or maybe they're not going to go with the collection you're using at the moment, but you've got them, try doing something like this, and it emphasizes where the photos are, and it looks really cool. I think it looks really cool. Let me know below if you think it looks good. Now this one is, I did pull in, I know I'm keeping it simple. Okay, I'm keeping everything simple for September, and as much as I'm keeping it simple, it still has to be me. So when I did this, that's when I realized, you know what, if I trim these edges down, and that makes it more like a bracket, and I really liked how that looked. It just took a few minutes just to sort of break it down in my head. I didn't want them to be even because the photos are stepping down, so that's what I wanted for the brackets as well. Now I really like these. You may have noticed that I was using my tape runner more than my glue on this particular one. I'll explain why. Because I have got this really bad habit. When I go around the edges and ink things with oxides, right? Here's where I'm going around the very edge with the ink. Now, when I use my oxides, I have this really horrible habit of getting the ink with the glue, and then I get like a yellow. Whenever I use this particular color, it gets a bit yellow on me. Now, what I'm doing here, I'm just going around the edges with my mini blending brushes and my brown oxide, just to give these thickers a little bit more oomph. Did you see how they just magically got done? I did stop recording that because that's pretty boring watching that. Now, I went around those in the exact same color. This is really simple. I have only used the paper pad. The thickers that I'm using are called MAGGIE, and I used one Distress Oxide ink. So the products I've used are simple. The title, I thought this page could really handle a nice heavy title. When I say heavy title, it's thickers, it's a darker color. I've put the darker edges on it, and I think it works. Now, I did put two little pieces on the page. I think one says wishing you joy, and the other one was warm wishes. Those two did come out of the paper pack, out of the paper pad, but I thought I could get away with those because it's a winter layout. So that worked for me. Now, I'm going through and I'm just putting these. Now, I put my title down on some wax paper. I reuse my wax paper over and over and over again until I use ink on it, and then I ditch it and start again. I find it's really good because you can move it around on your page, especially if you're using thickers. You can move it around on your page and you're not actually sticking it down, and I think it really helps with placement because, like you, I do the same thing. Sometimes I put things down and go, oh, should have moved that over or whatever. Now, I did put these down and I didn't use any glue behind them at this point. Off screen, I came in and I made sure that there was some glue behind all of those so that they don't go anywhere in the future. So at this point, I'm really happy with the layout. It's coming together. This is where I decide to pull out my sequins and my flat back pearls. Now, the sequins you can see in this pack here, the one I used, the dark green, I can tell you because I've only just bought it. I got that from Lincraft this week, and it's a beautiful deep green color. It's gorgeous. Now, this is where I am going around and I'm just adding all my bling. So I do show you how I do some of that. You can see with the sequins, I don't do it so much with the flat back pearls, but I do it with the sequins. I like to just sort of drop it down, and where it lands pretty much is where I put it. I think that gives it more of an organic feel of where it sort of lands. Now, I know that I'm going to go around these photos with my brown flat back pearls, and I've got some micro ones. They are, I think they're like 1 millimeter. Like they are tiny, and they definitely take a bit of patience to get them all down, but they feel amazing when you rub your hands over the page later on. I love that feeling, and I love that they add interest without adding, how do I explain it? It adds interest, but it's not. So these little guys here that I'm scooping out, these ones are super uber tiny. Now, I've put the sequins down, I've put the dark brown flat back pearls down, and now I'm just going through and putting the tiny ones down. I don't make you watch all of how I'm doing that. I literally get my art glitter glue and I just put down sort of 10-15 dots, and then I go to town and I use my wax tip pencil and I put them down. I put them down when, into the glue, and they set. So I'm just showing you quickly how I do that, and then I'm going to be all finished. So I absolutely love how this one turned out. It's nice, deep, rich colors. These colors are nice and rich, like the Echo Park. Was it Echo? Yeah, it was Echo Park. I used a collection last year and I loved it. So these deep, rich colors. So this is a winter layout using Christmas stuff. And thank you so much for sticking with me and watching all the way through. Can you see those little tiny ones? They're just gorgeous. They do take some persistence to get them down though. So they're not for the faint of heart. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I will be back tomorrow with a live, and that will then be loaded up when I'm finished as well. Not a problem. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I will chat to you soon. Bye for now.